She's a winner.
And welcome to the Intuitive Entrepreneur Show, where you take enlightened entrepreneurs, coaches, and influencers together to discuss cutting-edge topics in the world of relationships, culture, business, and spirituality. And here's your host, Miss Carol Boston.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Intuitive Entrepreneur Show. We're here in what looks like kind of cloudy South Florida. Come on, you know, I'm your weather girl. So when you comment, make sure you tell me where you're chiming in from and what the weather's like where you are. It finally got cool enough here for me to wear a long sleeve shirt, actually in the house. And it's my LSU Tigers. Come on, you guys. You know I'm an LSU Fighting Tiger. I got my LSU cup that I drink out of. People say, Carol, that was a lot of years ago. Yeah, that was a lot of years ago when I was in college. 1978 to 1983. Oh my gosh, I just dated myself. You know how old I am. That's okay. It's all good, right? So I was excited to get to wear my new t-shirt. It's pretty rare, but it was got down to 52 today. It's supposed to be around 52 or 53 tonight. So when I'm coaching my 6 p.m. client, I'm going to slide that door right open and let the air come through, cool the house back down. It will be nice. How many of you like that temperature and like that it's breezy? And you might not believe this, but in northern Florida, they had freeze warnings. Hello, 28 degrees. 28 degrees. It really does get cold in parts of Florida. Sometimes they even had a little bit of sleet. Not so much snow, but a little bit of sleet. Who's here who actually read the title and what we're going to talk about today? What are you making matter that really doesn't matter? And the question is, what don't you know? There's a lot we all don't know, but do we know what we don't know? Come on, that sounds rhetorical, Carol. We're going to dig into it in a few minutes, right? Don't want to jump in too quickly. How many of you are actually celebrating Christmas? I wanted to go last night to the lighting of the Christmas tree on Los Olas Boulevard in Fort Lauderdale. It's a big, big whoop-de-doo. And I didn't make it. I chose to stay here and make my calls and send my texts and emails for the big upcoming luncheon and gala for the Women's Executive Club. So I got a lot of that out of the way last night, and there'll be other opportunities. As a matter of fact, anybody watching here ever been to the massive Fort Lauderdale Winterfest boat parade? It's one of the top 5 largest in the world. And I just had someone send me a text earlier today and invite me to a party at their house. And their house is right on the Intracoastal. I mean, those boats are going to go like really close by. And they're huge and they're all lit up and they play Christmas music. And that's December the 14th. It'll be exciting to do that. I haven't done that in a lot of years. It's really crowded. If you don't have a house on the water or you're not invited to a party, good to have friends, right? And you just go on your own and you try to get a seat in the bleachers or take your own chairs and everything. It is really, really crowded and difficult. They close all the bridges around 6 p.m. So if you don't get across the bridge at 6, you're done. You are done. But it's going to be a great time. And I really hope the weather is this cool. That was another reason I wanted to go last night. So here we are, our first Wednesday in December. Where are you? In your business? Maybe one of your goals was to improve your relationship. Where are you in your relationship this year? Where are you in your personal development? There's so many different areas that we get to look at that oftentimes we overlook them, especially if we have our head down and we're focused just on business. Ergo, the question, what don't you know? So I'm in a program. It's a 30-day program. And it has to do with energy clearing around money. And I don't understand a lot about energy clearing. I trust this coach. I worked with her about 7 or 8 years ago when I was first getting started. but it's just fascinating. So she asked a question about anybody here really good at procrastinating than doing everything at the last minute, and you are always successful. You get it done and it's a success, and you go, ta-da, like, see, I told you I could do it. Sometimes we're just talking to ourselves. See, I told you I could do it. But she asked this question. I'm guilty of that. I'm guilty of that. She asked this question. Ask yourself, she said, what if I could be magical without procrastinating to the last minute? What if I could be what if you could be magical without waiting to the last minute? And she talked about how oftentimes subconsciously, not necessarily we're aware of it, we do that, and the ta-da is all about us reinforcing how powerful we are. We got this. We can do this. How many of you, she said, are looking for obstacles just so you can prove that you can overcome them? Guess what? We all have a reticular activation system in our brain. It's called the RAS. And it will go out and find evidence to support what we believe. If we believe it's hard to make money, it's going to be hard to make money. We had one lady in the group today saying that she had the coach had helped her uncover this underlying belief that she had, that in order to be closer to God, she had to suffer. And she grew up with that. And we talk about a lot of these things on my podcast, but it was really quite interesting today to be involved in the group and hear some of the other people who were actually doing energy clearing and had done a lot of energy clearing in the past. So if that's you, if you've done that kind of work, let me know in the comments and let's have a conversation about it. I actually asked her, the coach, I said, the last 3 or 4 days that we've done this, I've been to the gym at the crack of dawn, full of energy. I sit down and we get on this 90-minute call and I end up almost dozing off. I said, what in the world is making me tired? She goes, are you tired? Are you tired? Or are you on the verge of letting go of a lot of things? She said it takes a lot of energy to hold on, even at a subconscious level, a lot of energy to hold on to things that are no longer serving us. That's why I put it in the description of the talk today. What are you holding on to? What are you trying to make matter that really doesn't matter? It was really quite fascinating. So she explained it to me. She said, you're letting go of a lot of old energy. And she said, you're coming into a place of greater peace. She said, are you tired after we get off the call? I'm like, oh no. I perk right back up and I get going. She said, it's okay. You're in a good space. You're in a good space. I was happy to hear that. So let me know if you've ever done any energy work, what type of work you've done. She does theta healing and Akashic records and access bars and things I don't even begin to understand. How many of you open though? What in the world is Carol doing bringing all this up? Because in our Ayanla Van Zandt book, we're going to get to in a few minutes, not just yet. Today's topic is, I will know peace when I become coachable. How many of us say we're open to coaching, and then somebody gives us feedback and we get defensive or we get angry, right? Are you really open? See, oftentimes we've already decided what we want to hear. And when what we hear doesn't coincide, if you will, or line up with what we wanted to hear, we tend to push it off and push it away. Folks, everything is just feedback. It's feedback. There is my energy healer right there that I was just talking about, our group this morning. Hello, Roxanne Kuciak. So good to have you here this afternoon. We've been talking a little bit about the question that really spoke to me that I highlighted from today in our energy work was, there's two of them. One of them was, what if you could be magical without procrastinating, right? And how I heard that and what I took away from that. Hey, she said, Roxanne says hello, and she sends lots of red hearts. Tell us what the weather's like where you are, Roxanne. On this show, I'm also known as the weather girl. So I always ask, Where are you chiming in from? And what's the weather like? You can tell behind me it's a little cloudy today. And when we talked earlier this morning, it had dropped down to 52, which was, you said, was shorts weather for you. You should have seen the people in their parkas and boots today. You would have cracked up. Roxanne says, I love being magic. Exactly. And I said, I'm guilty of that. I will wait till the last minute and I'll tell you 99% of the time I'm successful. I get it done and it's good work. But I'm asking myself that now several times today. What if I could be magical and not procrastinate and not have to say, ta-da? So when you put that ta-da in there this morning, I was like, oh, it's me that I'm trying to prove something to. Roxanne said, it is 33 degrees and cloudy. Ellen Mignoni in the house. Hello, Ellen. So good to have you back. She's up in the northeast coast. Tell us what the weather's like where you are. She's up in Maine. It's cold up there. No, you're in Rhode Island. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank. You're in one of those places up there where it's really cold. So is Roxanne. Roxanne is here from Detroit. It's cold up there. So we always, and I'm going to say always because my tribe demands it, we work in Ayanna Van Zandt's book until today. I've shared with you in the past that I probably have had this book for close to 20 years. And there's only been, Ellen says, Carol, you are so far off. It is chilly here, but I'm in Delaware. And she's invited me to Delaware. I haven't made it yet. Roxanne says, it is not required to prove anything, not even to yourself. Laugh out loud. Exactly. I understand that intellectually, but when you said that today, I thought in the hustle of procrastinating and getting it done and still doing a good job, it dawned on me, am I trying to prove something to myself? Right? I can do this. Ellen said, potential snow in the area tomorrow. Ellen says, please come visit. Remind me, Ellen, do you have a wood-burning fireplace? That's a big draw for me. And you know what you and Roxanne missed? Oh, no, Roxanne saw it this morning, I think. Ellen, I have on my new LSU Tiger t-shirt. Yep. I know you've always seen my LSU cup that I have, especially when we did Carol's Craft Cocktail Show, right? But if you haven't done any energy work or energy clearing, and I told you guys, I admit, there's so much of it I don't understand. But are you willing to be coachable? I'm willing to be open. I even asked Roxanne one day, I said, all these people they do this work and they feel stuff. I said, I don't feel anything. Oh, but I'm learning. Please come to Delaware. Ellen says, very nice. We have a fire pit-ish. That means I got to sit out in the snow to be in front of a fireplace? That sounds like a little bit of a challenge, but I guess there's always umbrellas. Oh my goodness. All righty. Let's jump in. I got to put on my trusty glasses. And thank you, ladies, for joining me. You know, I always love a dialogue and not a monologue. And, you know, I don't always, I digressed, didn't I? I've had this book for about 20 years, and only 2 years did I read it every single day, 365 without failing. Here it is, though. Get this book. Jeff bought this book. He's been reading it. And it has daily things for you to read, learn from, get inspired by. Ayanna Van Zandt, if you don't know who she is Oprah Winfrey's spiritual advisor and has a show on the OWN network. Roxanne said, until you did, later that day. Oh yeah, you're right, I did. Ellen says, it is okay to be uncomfortable. It helps build character and grow. Exactly. I first met Roxanne energy healing. You talk about somebody who didn't know anything about anything. That was me. It was like 8 years ago, I think, maybe more. But I'm still a novice, but I'm open to learning. And we don't always read the day of the day. I read from what I'm basically intuition supposed to read and talk about. So the theme for December is I will know peace when ... And each day has a lesson for us. Today's lesson is I will know peace when I become teachable. There is a very simple way to create a space for peace to exist in your mind. The way is to admit what you don't know. Many of us reach the age, usually around 30, she says, when we realize that there are things we need to know that we don't know. The common first response to this realization is often fear. Fear is usually followed by embarrassment and shame. When pressed to demonstrate your knowledge on an issue that you have no knowledge of, you will probably lie. Come on, how many has ever done that in the past, right? Oh, yeah, I know that, and we know nothing about it. Edalmus is here. Oh my gosh, I haven't seen you in ages. Welcome. Tell us where you're chiming in from and what the weather's like where you are. Haven't seen you in ages. Great to have you here. I'm going to read that sentence again. When pressed to demonstrate your knowledge on an issue you have no knowledge of, you will probably lie. You will lie because you're afraid, ashamed, or embarrassed to admit that you don't know what others think you should know. You know how we hate that should word here on my show. Should and shouldn't. We don't say that. Let's face it. Some of us miss some basic living fundamentals. It is perfectly okay to not know something. What you don't know won't hurt you unless you try to cover up the fact that you don't know. When you do that, the lie used as cover will eat you alive. No one will think poorly of you when you don't know, unless you try to convince them that you do know what you don't know. Come on. Put Y-A-N-A, Yana. You are not alone, Carol. We've all been guilty of this at one time in our life. When you do that, there will be hell to pay, and the hell is in your mind. It is the hell of living with the fear that you will be found out. You can survive the fear, shame, or embarrassment of not knowing by simply acknowledging that you don't know. If you do so with a willingness to learn, people will probably have a great deal of respect for your courage. Until today, you may have been afraid to acknowledge, admit, or accept that there are some things about life and living that you simply don't know. You may not have realized that the only way not knowing can hurt you or be used against you is when you try to hide it. Just for today, be willing to admit to yourself what you don't know. That simple act will open your heart and mind so that you can learn what you do need to know. Today, I'm devoted to opening my mind to learn what I get to know. I say get to know instead of need to know. I figure I don't need to know it. I get to know it, though. Gives me more choices. I remember somebody asking my opinion on something, and I said, yeah, I don't have an answer for you. What do you mean? I just asked for your opinion. And I'm like, I don't have one. I've never been through that experience. And they just looked at me. I said, I guess you're used to people making one up. She said, yeah, make it up. No, I'm not going to make one up. Idalma says, it's nice to see you. Good to see you too. What are your thoughts on the reading for today? Right? We started off talking about being coachable. And oftentimes people will say, yeah, I'm coachable. And then you give them feedback, and what do? They get mad. They tell you that's not true. And then they try to defend themselves. Not very coachable. We talk often here when we talk about and teach on empowering questions, how to get the answers that you really want, that one of the biggest challenges for most people is that they're attached to the outcome. Oh my gosh, I get to help people in the sales process. They're attached to the outcome. The challenge, folks, is when we decide what the outcome gets to look like in advance, we have now narrowed and limited the possibilities for a solution or an answer. One of the things that I get my clients to do, actually one of them recently did this very successfully, closed a $4,000 sale. She was ecstatic. When the person said no, they weren't ready to move forward. She said, may I ask you a question? They said, yes. And I taught her to shrug her shoulders, kind of cock her head and say, I'm just curious. What one thing, because remember, they're specific. What one thing of value, because I teach my clients, we do not discount our pricing, we add value. What one thing of value could I add to my program today, because they're time bound, that would have you excited to sign right now and move forward and get started with me? Now, I don't know what they told her, but it was something very easy, didn't cost her anything to add. She said, "Done. I'll put it in the agreement. You ready?" And they said, "Yeah." How often do people, when they tell you no, you quit? When people tell you no, most of the time, vast majority of the time, you just haven't shown enough value. And so often, even when I was in corporate America, so often in sales, the first thing people would do, what? Let me discount my pricing. What if it's not even about the money? Once again, you made an assumption because you're attached to having that sale. Got to have it. And you don't really know. I was coaching a guy the other day, and I said, if you were a real estate agent and I walked into your office and I said, I want you to show me your most magnificent homes, what's the first thing you would do? He looked at me and he thought and he thought. And he said, what is the best thing to do? I said, you get to find out what magnificent means to that person. Your idea of magnificent and their idea of magnificent could be two completely different things. I'd say, sit down, come share with me. What does magnificent sound like to you, look like to you? And an even greater question is, how will you know when you found it? What will you feel? Right? And what do most people say? I'll just know when I know. But asking enough of the right questions up front gets you a lot of answer to prepare you to actually show them what they really want to see. Roxanne says, I love, what do I get to know? Yeah, what do I get to know? There's the 3 Ds. Our brains distort information, delete information, and for the life of me, I cannot remember the third one, because we have so much coming in. And so it's totally okay to let some of that go. You know, one of the questions Roxanne asked us today that we talked about a little bit earlier was, what are you making matter that really doesn't matter? What are you trying to make matter that really doesn't matter? Often we give significance and power to things that are truly insignificant. Truly insignificant. So we get to know our value, own our power, and what? Advocate for ourselves. I can't believe nobody put Yana in the comments for me. YANA. You are not alone, Carol. That's okay. I can preach to the choir, right? Preach to the choir. I can take off my glasses. No, those aren't bad glasses. So as we prepare to go into 2025, at the beginning, we talked about, where are you? Not just in your business. Where are you in your health? Where are you in your relationships? Yes, you get to look at, where are you in your finances? Where are you with your business? Or perhaps with your job, if you work for somebody else and you're looking to possibly get a promotion. Did you set goals in all those areas? Do you have metrics in those areas? Because only when we have data, when we have numbers, do we have something that we can measure. Once we have something we can measure, then we have something we can manage. I mean, the only way you're going to know what your closing ratio is in sales calls is to what? Have sales calls. Have lots of sales calls, right? We talked about, we're going to be changing the name of this show to Crack Your Code, Reframe Your Life. And we're going to be doing some teaching in here on the bank methodology and how it helps businesses increase their sales 300%, how it helps couples have better relationships and parents and children have better relationships, because we get to speak into the other's code. So instead of trying to run them over, we get to what? We get to influence them. That's one of the things I teach my clients, the art of influence. It's a 7-step process I have, so that when they go through the sales call with a potential client, guess what? They don't ever feel salesy, right? It's very interesting to ask somebody, at what point did you first have a bad taste in your mouth about the word sales? Most people don't even know. They just decided, yeah, I don't want to be that. Folks, sales makes the world go round. Love makes the ride worthwhile, right? If we didn't have sales, we wouldn't have clothes on, we wouldn't have StreamYard and Zoom and Facebook, and none of us would be chatting and getting to know each other and learning. It's invaluable. So you get to ask yourself an empowering question around sales. I'll give you another specific one. What one thing am I currently afraid to do in the sales process today that if I were to actually do it would radically elevate my business? Very empowering question. It's empowering because you don't know the answer right this yet. The answer is outside of your jar. You're trying to draw new awarenesses into your jar. Yeah, come on. We're all in a jar, right? That's why we all get to have a good coach to read our label. I tell my clients, I help you write a new label so you can throw an anchor into your future and let go of the story that's keeping you held in the past. What are you doing as you close out 2024 and as you get ready to go into 2025? If 2024 wasn't everything you wanted to be, DM me. Let's hop on a call and see what it would look like to work together to create 2025 to be your best year yet. Many of my clients have doubled and tripled the income in their business. It is not all about business. 2 summers ago, I was sitting there in my easy chair one night. Yeah, I was having my cocktail. And I got a text from a client. We'd been working together about 3 months in my 6-month program, and she was in politics. We were working on her business and her career. But here's what the text said. The text said, Carol, thank you so much. You saved my marriage. Folks, when we get to learn to effectively communicate, how we do anything is how we do everything. How we do anything is how we do everything. And when she learned to effectively change certain things in her communication, she'd been married 13 years. Miserable, ready for a divorce. You don't get to go change the other person. You get to look at what one thing could I change today that if I were to change, it would make all the difference in my relationship. How am I showing up on a regular basis? And is that in alignment with the values I said when I got married? There's a question for you. Linda Bonner in the house. Haven't seen you in ages either. Hello, hello, hello. I'm so glad to have you here. And we're almost at the end of our show. I do a pretty good job of keeping it at a tight 30 minutes. My technical expert, I am not her only client. Thank goodness, right? Once a week. She wouldn't have much business, would she? And we missed our cocktail show before Thanksgiving. So we're going to be planning something before Christmas. So you want to make sure you come back. And right now, we're still called the Intuitive Entrepreneur Show, but going forward, we're going to be Crack Your Code, Reframe Your Life. If you haven't cracked your code and you want to crack your code, DM me. Starting in January, nobody gets to come on the show. And we've had plenty of guests in the past without cracking their code. I've seen it help businesses grow their sales by 300%, save marriages, and save relationships, all with effective communication. And we're going to get to learn that it's not personal, folks. It is personality. Thank you, Roxanne, for coming. Thank you, Ellen Mingione. Thank you, Edalmus. Thank you, Linda, for stopping in. Come back next week. We get started right at 3 p.m. Eastern every Wednesday. I have not decided if I'm going to be here on Christmas Day. I think the only way I'm going to be here on Christmas Day, which is a Wednesday, is if my technical consultant is. Probably not, but let's just say she was. I would have to reach out to some friends and make sure some people were going to show up. So maybe we'll do it the day before. I'll be letting you know. Stay tuned. Once again, send me a private message. Let's create magic in your life in 2025. Go in peace. And every day this week, do whatever you can to get someone to smile. Blessings, everybody. Yes, it's not personal. It's personal.
Thank you for listening to the Intuitive Entrepreneur Show, brought to you by Life Coaching Today magazine. empowering your health, your business, your community, your life. Check out the latest issue today at lifecoachestoday.com. Everyone here at the True Awesome Network asks you to please subscribe, like, comment, and spread awesome.